welcome back to Tech Garage presented by Advance Auto Parts. Well, we got our project RSX Resurrection back in the shop. And I'm kind of fortunate. Brian's not too good at rock, paper, scissors. I got to drive. And let me tell you, not only does the suspension look good, the suspension works good. Those new struts, those new springs, and those sway bars got it handling great. Now it just makes sense to turn our attention to the engine. So we're going to go with a cold air intake, and we're going to go with a DC Sport header and a MagnaFlow exhaust. Think about it. An engine's nothing more than a big air pump. It takes the air in, compresses it, burns it, and you got to get it out. So to get the air in, we're going to use this K&N cold air intake system. And this is really nice because you got the actual washable filter right here, which is high flow. It's going to get that cold air, dense charge into that engine, bigger bang, a little more power, even some fuel economy to boot. We got the ductwork right here and all the hardware that's associated with it. We're also going to go ahead and mount the scan gauge so we can monitor everything that's going on with our system. This will plug right into the onboard 2 connector, and we'll be able to tell what's going on and monitor the car perfectly. Now Brian's putting this cold air intake in. Let's join him.
All right, and that's the final bolt on the factory air box, which comes out actually pretty easily. We'll lift it out. We've got the plumbing kind of disconnected here. Take our time. It's out. One more piece of plumbing down here to come out. And the new K&N system couldn't be easier to install. The bracket bolts right up. You can see right here where we're going to marry up. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is put this cone filter on now and get it snug. And we'll come back and do a final tightening on it. But you'll see in a moment, the way we set it down in, why that's going to be helpful. So we have to reinstall the intake air temperature sensor as well. And I've got the clamp right here. We go onto the throttle body opening, work it in and on. Notice there's a bracket right here on the K&N plumbing that goes right down onto that same mounting. You got PCV. You got one more tube. And then, of course, as I mentioned, you want to get the intake air temperature sensor in. And to do that, you got to battle a little bit to get through this grommet because that's a tight fit. I like to use just a little bit of dielectric gel here to help the cause. Again, non-corrosive. It's not going to eat up any of the rubber. Bracket up. And in we go. Work it. Thread it right in. Now we can reconnect. Now we've got that scan gauge. One more piece of relevant data. Go ahead and get this buttoned up. One mounting screw in. Everything's 10 millimeter. Again, this couldn't really be any easier. You're going to hear a difference, but more importantly, we're going to feel a difference in power. Good. Come back. We get our hose clamps tight, and we're on our way.
Now Brian's got the cold air intake on our Acura. Well, what did that do? It allowed the air to come in. We've been talking about that volumetric efficiency. Well, take a deep breath. It doesn't do any good to hold it. It has to come out. And that's how an engine works. And DC Sports and MagnaFlow, well, they sent us a setup here that's going to do just that. Headers are really cool. But to see, they're not just cool looking. They actually serve a function. Each one of these runners create a pulse of air. So as it's going through the exhaust, the next pulse is right behind it. It's creating a vacuum. So we're getting a lot of those burnt gases out of the cylinder. Then what we're going to do is we're actually going to wrap it with this DEI wrap here. That's going to actually reduce temperatures. And it's important here because it's right next to the firewall of the car. We'll use the lock ties and the tool. We'll put some wrap on here. Actually, it'll flow a lot better. The heat will keep in there, and everything will be in good shape. We're going to bolt it to our catalytic converter. Now this is a high flow cat. See, catalytic converters, sometimes they restrict the exhaust to do their job. This one's going to do its job and let it flow. Then we're going to go to the mid pipe, and from the mid pipe I'm going to come through this resonator here. This is going to be real nice, bolted up to our actual muffler. Now our muffler is a free flowing muffler. You can see it looks real good. It's going to fit real good. Now, you see what we took off of here? The suitcase. Not only is it ugly, it's not going to flow the exhaust and do the job that this system's going to do. We need to get this on so we can get that exhaust out.
All right, there's both O2 sensor connectors. We've got new ones on the way from Advance. I'll tell you, the worst part of this exhaust system upgrade so far has been that new header. Tight area to work in, but we got the old exhaust manifold off, got the surface cleaned up, new header is on, gaskets are in, it's torqued to spec, and after we heat cycle this once or twice, we'll come back and torque tighten those again. Next step is to remove this old kind of lame exhaust system. Here's a trick Uncle John taught us a few years back. Take your channel locks, go onto your hanger, onto the back of the rubber mounting, and work and press this right off. Okay, now the good news is we can lay this right at this cross member. It's going to hold the weight up on the front. If you're working by yourself, you're going to need that advantage. We're going to head to the back now and switch tools. And we have one more hanger back here. You can see, you remember John had the old suitcase exhaust already removed. Here's our hanger here. I'm going to tap it out. Well, that thing moved, of course. Okay, it's out. Now, we can set this system out and down. All right. So if you're installing this system by yourself, you could certainly build it in components, no shame in that, but we've got some help. So we've got it pre-assembled, nothing's tight, nothing's torqued. We've got to give it a little flex. So, hey John, you got a minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Man, this thing looks so much better, the diameter, and
it even looks faster.
It really does.
So we still have got some PB Blaster on our hangers, which is really helpful here.
Give me a little angle down.
You got it? Slide right in.
Yep, that joker's going on nice. All right.
Great.
We're in here.
Good job. Coming up to the back, I've got one hanger to hit. I'm going to get that installed, and then we'll get the tailpipe going. All right, I'm in, John.
I'm married right up with that exhaust.
There's a gasket for you.
Awesome.
There's some bolts for you. Tailpipe comes
Man, look at that thing. Fits like a glove.
right up and in. Now I'm going to wait on my hangers so you get everything you need.
Oh, I need the gasket.
Yep, make sure you put the gaskets in. You got to make all those connections tight. I think we're going to get this system pretty hot.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So want to make sure we got good connections everywhere.
All right.
Think about how much more air we're flowing through this K20, John.
Yeah, big time. I mean, this is going to give us performance, and you know, if we drive it sensibly, it's also going to give us gas mileage. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, good point.
All right, I got this one all lined up.
Sound really good.
You in the
Okay,
hanger
I'm going to
back
hit
there?
my hanger here, and we're all set, buddy.
Man, that thing looks great. I can't wait to hear this thing, Brian. And you know, you're going to have to wait till next week to hear it. You don't want to miss that. Well, I'm going to head over to Bernie's. Join us there. I'll be right back with more Tech Garage presented by Advance Auto Parts.
Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts, is being brought to you by Optima Batteries, powering your passion. Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. Clamp Tight, the clam making tool. And by Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road.
Welcome back to Tech Garage presented by Advance Auto Parts. Now this performance playbook's all about air fuel mixtures, intake, exhaust, and computers. Remember we scanned our actual Mustang and got a code? You got computers too, Josh. Tell us, what are these computers doing on this A-Fuel dragster?
Every single thing in the car is being monitored by that computer there.
So as you go down the track, air fuel mixture, pressures, everything.
Everything.
Man, that's something. Now, intake and exhaust, that was a lot of fuel and air coming in there. We had to get it out. We got a set of headers right here, no mufflers. Tell us about these sensors.
These sensors monitor each individual cylinder.
So you're monitoring it for what, temperature?
All temperature.
That's so important when you're dealing with 4,000 horsepower.
Absolutely.
So this thing's recording it. You can go back and look at it when you get there.
Yes, sir.
Very cool, very cool. Now we're talking intake and exhaust and performance. Tony's got a car back there on a dyno. Let's check it out.
Here we have a 2006 300 Chrysler that came in stock. Put a cold air kit on it, headers and exhaust, doing some tuning on it. Baseline run was 360 horsepower. It was very lean, as you can see on the dyno chart here. It was very lean. So with that being said, we decided we needed to correct the air fuel, and that's what we're doing with the tuning process. On the screen, I'm actually looking at the speed and the RPM and the air fuel. If it was a supercharged car, I'd be looking at boost as well. The critical part to it all is the air fuel. The air fuel is what we are looking for to make sure it's safe. If the combustion cycle is not efficient, it's not going to make power. If you don't have enough fuel, it's not going to make enough power. If you have too much fuel, it won't make enough power. So we have to have that fine line where we're at. But when you go full throttle, you got to have extra fuel. So either that or you burn up the motor. So we don't want to do that. So we bring in the extra fuel. 12.8 today is what we're targeting. We have it right at 12.8 right now. Started out at 14.3. Picked up 55 horsepower basically. So with correcting.
Thanks, Bernice, for that awesome performance playbook. Let's wrap things up with the email question of the week.
John Barry from one of my favorite towns in America, Appleton, Wisconsin, emailed us this week. He's got a 2012 Chevy Silverado that's thrown a trouble code of a P0101, the famous mass airflow sensor problem. And he wants to know, if he replaces the mass airflow sensor, do we think it'll fix the problem?
Ooh, good question, Barry. I wouldn't just go throwing parts on. I do a little diagnostics first, man. These mass airflow sensors get expensive. A couple quick things you can do and how they actually work. Check this out. We have one on the air box right here. It's going to go through the actual air box, and then all this right here, this ductwork, any vacuum lines, all this has to be sealed, see, because it's counting it right here. If anything's getting in over here, that's unmetered air, Barry. Now, that was a problem with our Mustang.
Absolutely was. Remember the gasket up on the plenum and the intake manifold? And that was a small leak. We found that leak with one of the best tools in the shop, the smoke machine. Took us a little bit of time. Now, things that go bad under the hood, all the rubber and vinyl deteriorates over time. That little crack, that would throw a code. Same thing on the hard plastic lines. They get pinched. There's a tremendous amount of heat in the engine bay. That would throw a code.
But you know, a couple quick things you can do. I got a mass airflow sensor right here, and you can actually see inside. There's an element. A lot of them have a hot wire sensor. Just take some cleaner, clean out your mass airflow sensor. Make sure it's good and clean so you don't get any false readings.
Yep, and I like to do that periodically just to keep the varnish off that anyway. Tell you what, the smoke machine validated it, but the drivability test on the Mustang, that told the truth.
It sure did. You know, we saw no smoke going out at the second time we smoked it. Our Mustang's in good shape.
Absolutely. Remember, if you need us during the week, check us out on YouTube or Twitter.
Yeah, and don't forget about our RSX as well, man.
Oh,
we want to
yeah.
come back next week and check that out. Intake and exhaust. That thing's going to sound awesome. Hey, we'll see you next week with more Tech Garage, where we're getting you back on the road.
Production assistance for Tech Garage is provided by Chipola College, located in Marianna, Florida. Founded in 1947, Chipola College has a current enrollment of over 2,000 students. Chipola was recently ranked as one of the top 3 community colleges in the United States.